So the fourth point of yoga, proper diet, is actually a really big topic. And so in terms of an introduction to proper diet, there are many diets that people follow for different reasons, for health reasons, or to lose weight, or all of this. So the yogic diet is really not any of those things, actually. The express purpose of a yogic diet is to calm the mind down a little bit and to make it a little more peaceful so that meditation is possible, or meditation is easier to accomplish, let's say. So the diet, we can say two things about it. It's vegetarian and it's sattvic. And so each of those things I can explain a little bit. So a vegetarian diet is traditionally, for the yogi, that would be a lacto-vegetarian diet. It would include dairy. Now today there are lots of issues with dairy that sometimes people choose to be vegan instead of vegetarian, and that is fine also. But the vegetarian diet and the reasons for it, one is that it's very easy to digest. So if we want to undertake the yoga practices, we want to be eating in a way that is not causing undue work for the body. So if you ever sit to meditate and you find that you're still digesting or you ate a heavy meal, it's almost impossible to do, actually. So we want to eat foods that are easily digested by the body. We want to eat foods that receive a lot of energy or a lot of prana from the sun. So that means as close to their natural source as possible. So the yogic diet typically includes vegetables, fruits, grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. Sometimes people worry maybe they're not getting enough protein, actually, but we don't need so much protein as we think we may need. But the protein comes from a lot of sources, actually. We get protein from some vegetables, we get protein from the beans, the legumes, we get protein from the seeds. And when we eat something like the legumes or the beans together with the rice, we get a really complete protein, actually. And so certain diets that, like the Indian diet or South Indian diet, for example, includes that. It's a very balanced way of eating. We want foods that are not overly processed as much as possible, not reheated so many times. So maybe you can take the best quality food, but if you're cooking something and then reheating it 2 or 3 times and eating it, it starts to lose its prana or its life force a little bit. So that is an aspect, is eating food that is freshly prepared and has lots of nutrients in it. There's also an element of non-harming in the vegetarian diet. So most yogis are concerned about not harming other living beings, and so if the diet is vegetarian, we feel that we're not causing so much harm. And that is a consideration with eating dairy also. So some people, that consideration is quite big. And so the diet, another aspect of the diet is that we want to be eating with a lot of appreciation. We want to be eating food that's prepared nicely with a lot of care. These, of course, are all ideals. In life, it's not always easy to get everything exactly the way that we'd like, but certainly eating food that's prepared with a lot of love and understanding and care and is taken and received, and we eat it with a lot of gratitude, we get more benefit from that food. So we don't want to harm living beings by eating a vegetarian diet, but there's also there's a consideration that we have to make of how we may be harming the environment through the food that we're eating. So these are not easy issues, actually, but things to think about in the diet a little bit. Then the second word that I mentioned was sattvic, and so that is a little subtle concept within yoga. That there are qualities in nature. There are qualities that are calming and peaceful. There's a quality of stimulation that is natural in all things that we find in our world. And then there's a quality of sort of inactivity, a dullness, inertia. And we want to, as yogis, avoid a little bit that tamasic, that inert, and take more things that are a little peacefully oriented, let's say, or are going to create peace in the system, have a little more prana in them. So there's certain choices, and what we choose to eat is fundamental, actually. It's very important. So the yogis want to choose things that are going to keep the mind calm and peaceful and ready for meditation, let's say, ready for a little more subtle practices. So I would say for anyone beginning on the path, not to be too worried about it. Just that as you practice, your understanding grows a little bit, and then you find yourself naturally, without any stress, sort of choosing foods differently, what you want to put into your body. And as your awareness grows in the practice, also you may find that certain things you're interested in eating differently. So I don't like to suggest that people make too radical changes initially, but just be aware a little bit of integrating some of the principles into the diet, or maybe eating less meat or eating less processed food, a little more raw food or food that's receiving the prana directly from the sun. So it's a really big issue, certainly, but what we eat is very important. You know, creating the right frame of mind, so the type of quality of the food that we put in creates a healthy body and a good quality, let's say, of mind and of our thoughts. So it becomes very important.